everyone you know and love. Everyone, you will all die. Let's finish this.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. I was looking at it a little bit this afternoon. It's a new role-playing video game that is leaving nothing to the imagination. Mass Effect is what it's called. It's made for Microsoft's Xbox system, and it features in some parts of this, you'll see full digital nudity. Imagine. And the ability for the players to engage in graphic sex, and the person who's playing the game gets to decide exactly what's going to happen between the two people, if you know what I mean. Now, the game is rated M for mature. However, critics say that Mass Effect is being marketed to kids and to teenagers. Microsoft responded to these claims and said that they were inaccurate. They released this statement that reads in part, "We actively support and abide by all video game rating systems and provide built-in industry-leading technology such as parental controls and a family timer that empowers parents and caregivers to monitor their children's experience with video games, notably with respect to content, online interactions, and the amount of time spent playing." Cooper Lawrence is a psychology specialist, radio talk show host, and the author of the new book, The Cult of Perfection. And Jeff Keighley is a game expert with Spike TV. Welcome to both of you. Cooper, it sort of cracks me up whenever I hear a company say that, there's all these controls in there that you can monitor the time and you can, but basically Pandora's box is open. I mean, kids have access to these things, and unless you're hovering over them every second, they're going to find ways to see this stuff on the internet. How damaging is it really?
Well, the thing is, it's the whole concept of 13-year-olds have never seen Playboy because they're not supposed to. It's that idea that, let's talk about who the video game is for. It might be for adults, but if you look at the statistics, who is playing video games but adolescent males, not their dads? So that's the first thing. The damage is this. We know that all the research shows that violence has a desensitizing effect. Well, sexuality does too. Because this is when the developing mind is happening. This is when they're first deciding who they're going to be, who their identity is. This is when social development is happening. And here's how they're seeing women. They're seeing them as these objects of desire, as these, hot bodies. They don't show women as being valued for anything other than their sexuality. And it's a man in this game deciding how many women he wants to be with.
All right, let's get Jeff in on this.
All right, that's
go ahead,
completely
Jeff.
Incorrect. Yeah, it's completely incorrect. First of all, you can actually play as a man or a woman in the game. Cooper, have you ever played Mass Effect?
No.
Right. Well, I think the fact is you talked about, another thing that you mentioned is that how it's, has full graphic nudity. That's completely incorrect. There's no full nudity in this game. There's the side of an alien boob. Side of an alien boob, which can be seen. It's a small sexual situation in this game, which is about 2 minutes out of a 30-plus hour experience.
And Jeff,
to
let me
destroy
ask
this
you
character,
something.
Commander Shepard.
Jeff, let me ask you a question. I have not played this game. I went on the website today. I clicked on a lot of different trailers. I tried to learn as much about it as I could before we did this. It's interesting. When you click on it, it asks you your age. It says you must go through a scanning process. So I thought, oh, this is going to take forever. Okay, so I put in my age, and then, boom, you're in, no problem. So that is a pretty easy screen to get past. There's nothing graphic that I saw on the front, the pages that I looked at on the internet. But it does beg the question, what it does to kids in terms of how they think about violence and sexuality, because they're, engaged and blowing people away in these.
Well, I think what's interesting about this, we talk about, sexuality in the media. One of the great things about Mass Effect, for people that have played it know this is a sort of a choose-your-own-adventure story, and it doesn't force you down any situation. You can actually play through this game without the sexual situation ever happening.
Right, and the young boys
game.
are going to be choosing not to have sex. That'll be what they'll choose. I mean,
no,
let's be
because
realistic
it's not a simple choice. But Cooper, it's not a simple choice. You don't turn to the game and says, "Would you like to have sex or not?" It's through the evolution of a relationship with characters, and the fact that this game has incredible artificial intelligence, and you can actually fall in love in this game, and it's just like modeling your life, and I think that's a much more powerful form of media.
Darlin, I got to go with the research, and the research says there's a new study out of University of Maryland right now that says that boys that play video games cannot tell the difference between what they're seeing in a video game in the real world if they don't have a real experience.
All right, Jeff. It's a fascinating game, and I'm amazed at just the artistry and what it looks like. It's absolutely phenomenal.
It's a fantastic game, and sex is a small little part of it.
All right, thank you very much to Jeff and Cooper. Let's go around the panel really quickly and get your thoughts on this. When you buy video games, which I just had my very first experience doing recently because I swore them off until this past Christmas when I said, okay, I'm going to break down. But you have to pick up the box and look at the back for the rating, and then you have to be involved in what your kids are looking at. What do you think about it?
Absolutely. I just last week bought Princess Enchanted Brides for my 6-year-old daughter, and I'm not very good at these games.
Oh, that's not for 6-year-olds, Grab.
I'm like with this, princess, whoever, like trying to get to the next stage, and you're just in the room, like you have to figure it out. I'm not very good at it. But I will say this, look, who can argue possibly that, Luke Skywalker meets Debbie Does Dallas is a good thing? It's not. It's just not good. And I'm definitely not going to let Mass Effect in my house.
All those things with MA on the back, mature audiences.
And then the thing is once it's in the house, that's the thing. There's a lot of grown men that love video games. Let's be honest here. But once it's in the house, we live in a day and age where our children are not always supervised. It's not the days of the Playboy magazine when a lot of moms were at home for the majority of the day. Many kids let themselves in after school. They have time. What do you think a young boy's going to do? I want to play my dad's video game while he's not here. And I think that's dangerous. We really have to watch this.
I want to buy the game where Lauren fights Chuck Norris.
It's coming out at Christmas. We'll give you all the details.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't get an adults-only rating. The highest rating that it can have. So first of all, this board that rates them needs to have their head examined. And this made me feel old watching this. What happened to Atari and Pinball and Pac-Man?
Well, this is an incredibly sophisticated. I mean, it's like watching a full feature film, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly sophisticated.
But we have to be careful here. Let's face it. There's all kinds of bad stuff coming through the internet, through video games, and the reality is, I would argue, that the government cannot and should not censor everything coming across the web and in video games. At the end of the day, it's just like Chet said, it's up to parents to control what their kids are seeing.
It is. Unfortunately, and it makes being a parent a much harder job, I think, than it used to be, because there's just such a flood. And also, you can access things on the internet and download them. So you're thinking, if I don't buy it, it'll be okay. But there's all kinds of ways to access, even on your phone, to access this stuff. So it's tough, not easy being a parent, but interesting to take a look at.